my god. Holy shit. Alrighty guys, Galaxie day today. I'm excited. We get to work on the Galaxie. Unfortunately not the red one, not quite yet, but in the near future, when the white Galaxie goes to paint, we're gonna break this thing out and start working on it. Might have to do with a coyote or maybe my, actually, I'm not even gonna keep going. It's all right, it'll be worth it, just wait. But we're gonna work on this one today. We're gonna keep getting going with this thing, getting it ready and pretty much ready and driving in the next week or so. So I'm gonna go and work on the brake system on this thing and make sure it'll actually stop. So on this car, we went ahead and did a disc brake conversion. It has 1969 Galaxie disc brake spindles and rotors on it. They're a direct swap. It's pretty cheap. If you go to Junkyard, it'll pretty much bolt right on. And then we did a just generic dual pot master on it. So I need to mount the prop valve and run the lines to it. So underneath there, normally on the stock one, it's just a single pot. So there's a single line right here, and that goes into its own prop valve. So I have to basically delete the prop valve that's down there and go ahead and run the rear lines to our new prop valve, which I'll probably have to get a little coupler and extend the line out. So I don't have to run a whole new line for no reason, and then go ahead and run our new front lane. So it should be a decent amount of work, but not too much. It's just a lot of getting in there and cutting my hands on everything. I'm mounting this bad boy up. So this actually was made by my buddy Vic Klotz, and this actually bolts to the bottom of the master cylinder. So this guy will kind of sit, I don't even know, somewhere underneath here, and then it all bolts in, and then basically I can just mount everything up top and then run the lines where they need to go. So it should be pretty self-explanatory. I'm gonna go ahead and start the camera up and we're gonna get moving on this thing. Alright guys, so this is one of those things that's like really difficult to film because it's like very tight nook and crannies that these lines are running through, and it's one of those things I just wanted to do it. I'll show you guys. So here it is. So up top, we have that dual pot master, and then we have a prop valve just kind of right underneath it. And then from there, you have your front lines, which are these guys in the back. The rear ones are the front, and then the rears are the, that didn't make any sense. The line coming down back to the firewall is to our front brakes, and this one coming off the front is to our rear brakes. Kind of backwards, but that's just the way that this system works. So basically what I have going on is it's gonna be kind of confusing. This is why I didn't bother filming it when I was putting it in. So this front line goes to the rear brake. So it will go down. You can barely see it. It's that little brass guy in the bottom left corner, right in front of the steering box. So that's our coupler that goes to the rear axle. That little brass guy in front of the steering box. So that guy right there, that goes to our rear brakes, and then it tees off at the axle. And then this one coming off the back in our firewall comes down the back, and then it tees right there by our steering. So you can see that guy tees. So there's two lines, basically one into two lines. So that one, that comes off the back, that's to our front brakes, and that tees right there, and one goes to the passenger side wheel, and one goes to the driver's side wheel. That's how we have front brakes. And then that other one, I just ran all the way up, basically off of that T, I ran it down and underneath the engine, and it comes out right up here, up top, which you can see in the wheel well. Just kind of pops out like so. So you can see that looks pretty nice. Kind of goes all the way down the cross member. You can actually see it right there, kind of running across the cross member, and it kind of pops out right there. Does the same on the other side. Might be able to show you guys a little bit better what's going on over here. So here's kind of where all the lines land. So we have obviously the one right here for this wheel, and then there's one going across, and then there's one, this little 3/16 line coming down. That's to our rear brake. So it's kind of where everything kind of comes together. I need to clean it up a little bit more though. But yeah, you can probably see why I said it's a little confusing and hard to show the actual process, because it kind of wasn't obviously designed for this kind of a system. It was designed for a single pot, just one straight line, little prop valve. This is all like double the size of the stock stuff, so trying to get it all in there is very difficult. It's actually 1/4 inch line for the front. It's 3/16 for the rear. It's just the way all the fittings worked out. Worked the best for me. My flaring tool sucks, so I try to get everything pre-made. At Napa, they sell like different diameters and different lengths. You can get like 10, 20, 30, 40 inch sections. So I just measured everything out. I got little couplers where I needed to add them together and little junctions where I needed to tee them and split them off, and it all just kind of built it from there. So Napa is like your way to go if you just want to, you know, go to the store, pick it up, and then build it. Best place. I've been there 4 times today because I obviously can't figure out what I need, but it's working now. And so since our front brake system is off of a 1969 Galaxie, it's the rotor and spindle, I went ahead and I ordered, actually does this have a tag on it? Okay, there we go. I'll give you guys that part number. That's because for whatever reason this is very difficult to find right now. I don't know why, but that I believe is the box that this came out of. I could be wrong, but I don't know. That might, no, yeah, that's the right one. This is the soft line that comes off of it. These are the old ones. These ones suck, obviously. They're past me wanting to use them, so we went ahead and replaced them with these. And I think the only thing I'm missing is Vanzo bolts, which might be in here. Yeah, and then the hardware kit for the front calipers. So 1969 Ford. It's pretty generic. I think Mustangs, Fairlanes, Galaxies all use the same disc brake setup around that time. But mine specifically is a 69 Galaxie, so that's what we're using right here. Not drum, a disc setup. So that's what all this stuff is. So I could actually put basically the hard lines to the soft lines on these guys, bolt them on the caliper, go ahead and bleed everything. We'll finally have brakes. Finally, then all I gotta do is run the wiring, and I think it'll start. I think. We'll drive actually at that point, right? I don't know, we'll see. All right, guys, switching cameras here. So last night I got pretty much everything done on the brake system to where all I need to do is hook up the soft line. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually try to put this car on the ground today. I don't know if it'll actually happen, but I wanna go ahead and get the underside of this thing painted and finish up everything back here. So it's pretty much done. All I gotta do is weld up the holes in the trunk, but I gotta paint everything. So I gotta get underneath here, pull the suspension back out, at least the coilover's out, so I gotta put it back up on jacks, unfortunately. And then what I'll have to do is basically seam seal and paint anything that needs to be painted underneath. Clean up the transmission underneath. It's got a little bit of oil residue on it. Make sure it isn't leaking. I don't know if it's the pan or what's going on down there. I'll have to take a look at that. And basically get everything underneath this car ready to be put back on its own weight, because after today, once the brakes are on, all I have to do is bleed them, and then we're done. So yeah, so that's gonna be the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the back of this car, get it all cleaned up. Alright guys, well I've been out here all day. I'm underneath the car doing a lot of stuff you won't really see unless you're crawling under this thing or you have it on a lift. Trying to make sure everything's all seam sealed on the bottom side of the floor pans. Even though it's welded, you want to make sure it's seam sealed from moisture. So that's what I spent a lot of time doing, and then making sure there's actual coating underneath the floor so it has an actual coating there so it doesn't hopefully rust in the future, or at least prolongs it as much as I can over the next, I don't know, 100 years or so, I'd like to think. Primered the quarter panel just because I'm super tired of looking at just that. I ran out of primer, 2 cans as far as I got. It actually looks really good, so this is actually the work. A lot of guys might not think it's straight. It's pretty dang straight, and this shows it. You know, I mean, if I go down, it's actually thin, but you can see it's pretty dang straight. There's a little like dimpled back over there, like not a very big one. The body line is like immaculate on this car. I mean, that is very impressive. I am very impressed with myself on this thing. It came out really, really good. I'm not even done. And I haven't finished any of the actual body work on this thing, but the car is going to go to an actual body shop and get painted just because of the weather and painting it outside. And the amount of work I've done, I want a real paint job on this thing, not a backyard paint job. Even though I'm not doubting myself, I can do a good job, but I just want it to be that, you know, next level of paint work. So underneath here's all painted. I've got that all done. See, the axle's all done. It's all undercoated. Everything underneath here is all blacked out, and whatever needs to be painted is painted. Frame rails all the way up to the front are. Floors are seam sealed up all the way around. Inside the car is all seam sealed up. So you can see those are all done. That guy's done. Everything's done. So realistically, the only thing I have to do now is bleed the brakes, which I'm close on. I just got to bleed those and then start wiring, and we should have a driving car. I think. It's kind of crazy to think. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow in the morning, I'm going to go ahead and get 2 more cans, finish this quarter panel so I can all have this one color, and then I think I'm going to do the same thing to the other side just so I have it all one color, and then from there, body shop guy can do his thing and I don't have to worry about it. But I also have some urethane primer. I might just mix with some reducer and throw it in a gun just so it's easier. It's a lot cheaper than just going ahead and mixing, you know, $11 cans over and over again. It's better to just mix it and spray it in a gun. I can do this whole thing with, well, you know, a quart and then some. So, but I want to pick up this video tomorrow. We're actually putting this thing hopefully on the ground, maybe, finally. All right, guys, so we're getting there for sure. Quarter panel's all one color now. Now you can actually see how straight this thing is. I was actually really impressed. I did not think it was actually as straight as it was. I thought I was gonna have to do a bunch more body work, and I was kind of rushing getting it all painted one color. But this thing is like super straight. You kind of saw last night in the overlay. I mean, this thing is, I can't even like express how impressed I am with my own self cutting the whole side of this thing off. I mean, you have absolutely no recognition of where there was any welding on this entire panel. There's a little body filler spot that needs to get sanded down. I just never did, but that can be done later. But I mean, I couldn't even see where this thing was welded all the way to here. So there's still some filler work needs to be sanded down right here. The only spot you can see where it was welded is right there, all the way across. So you can see that guy. And you come to the outside, you can't even see it. So that's kind of crazy. And we've got our crossbar painted underneath. All the suspensions undercoated, painted. Looks all really good. So I'm pretty happy with the way that's coming out. All right, so underneath here is all undercoated as well. It's kind of hard to show on camera. It's really hard to show on camera actually, but just take my word for it. Everything under here is all nice and painted. Floors are all seam sealed. You can kind of see that. I threw seam sealer around all the perimeters that I welded on. Same with that side, seam sealer. And then it's all painted and coated. I went ahead and degreased the whole transmission. That sucked, so that's all clean now. Kind of see up front, bell housing's all one color, which is nice. You can see the bell housing's all nice and clean, which is cool. So now I'm just kind of letting everything dry, and I'm going to do one last coat because you can see I kind of took some grease off, so I got to recoat some of these under spots, and then we should be good to go. Alright guys, weird little intermission. I ended up, yes, I shaved my mustache unfortunately. It was my girlfriend's birthday. It's one thing she wanted. She wanted me to shave the stash, so I did it. And I told her immediately I'm going to have it back in 2 weeks, so it's alright. You guys are good. But anyways, I'm going ahead and I'm bleeding the brakes right now, so I'm doing this all by myself. So I have to gravity bleed it. The other thing I want to point out, you guys might have noticed it, if you have a good enough eye, I actually routed this prop valve backwards. So I fixed that. So now it's going the right direction. Basically, these two fronts would be front right, front left. And then some guys either go front right wheel, front left wheel, or they just plug one of them and go to a T, which is what this is. They just use the front right, and then you can barely see it down there. It's T'd way down below, and then it goes to each front wheel. And then this guy runs down into our rear brakes. So I'd initially had those two fittings backwards, so you know, $30 in fittings wasted later. I had to remake them, so I went ahead and did that. You can see I got some brake fluid on the floor. I have a bunch over there. So what I'm doing right now is I have basically this one I have already bled, so I went ahead and I just kind of cracked all 4 bleeders and let it start to bleed out until I saw brake fluid starting to come on the floor. Pumped it a couple times to get some fluid to flow out of it. Closed this bleeder. Now I'm working on the front right. And if I press the brake pedal, see if I can get this on camera for you. See if we have a consistent flow of fluid. There we go. Okay. So we have brake fluid coming out of the front brake, so now that's good. Haven't anything out of the rear yet, which I'm not surprised. Take our wrench and cap this bleeder because I know these are good. Check for some leaks over on the master, which everything already looks good, which is nice. And then I'll just leave the rears open and I'll just kind of pump some fluid into them, close them, pump them again, open them, and then pump them on the brakes and just try to get some fluid moved back here until I see it starting to drip, and then I'll just kind of leave it alone for a little while, and then I'll do the same thing over again, and then just focus on each wheel at a time. And hopefully when somebody shows up to help me, I can close them all and start on the far right, and then basically go from the furthest wheel to the closest to the master and do one pass, and it should be perfect. So that's what I think I should be able to do, and then I can finally put this car on the ground. Finally, jeez. All right guys, so the fronts are done. I'm doing the rears. I have a pretty stiff pedal right now, which is good. The fronts work. And I heard this pss in the back, and you can see right there. Nice. The fluid, baby, all the way to the back. Ooh, on both sides too, look at that, even better. So now they're dripping, which is good, so I can kind of just leave them for a second. I can pump them a few more times, basically crack them, bleed them to put some pressure and get the air up front. So I'm gonna let these bleed for a little bit, and then kind of give them a second to kind of get some of the air up to the front. Go ahead and try that one more time, and then close all of them up, and I should have decent enough brakes for right now, until, like I said, Sean or somebody can come help me bleed these actually. Alright guys, well, this is just one of those videos where I just look and appreciate what I put together, because in my head I had a vision for this car and it looked very much like this, and this is just super rewarding to see it all sitting the way it is. And I can't even really put it into words, but this thing is low. It's really low. So I walk in the back, I mean, this thing tucks 20s with a 295 tire like it's nobody's business. I mean, that is... Oh, why'd you put rubber band tires? Those aren't rubber band tires. Those things are huge. The amount of modifications I had to do on this already humongous car to fit those wheels and tires the way that they're sitting currently is ridiculous. I mean, that is just bananas. It is definitely sitting lower in the back. This camera lens kind of levels it out, but it does not look like that normally. It's actually way lower in the back. It's slammed in the back. So I gotta put some preload in these springs.
Oh my god.
You like it?
Oh my god. Holy shit.
Not bad, huh?
Holy shit.
You went up, I went way down.
That stance is mean.
That's aggressive, ain't it?
Yeah.
Alright. Man, that looks so good. I cannot get over that. Look, the stance is almost perfect. Like I said, the back's a little bit low, but cannot say I'm any more stoked to see it on the floor. It still has suspension travel. I mean, I looked at the shock. I've got probably a good 2 inches of up travel on the shocks still, if you can believe that. I took a tape measure. We're 6 inches from the bottom of the body to the floor. So the bottom of the body to the floor is 6 inches. Bottom of the frame to the floor is 4 inches. So yeah, that's cool. I'm definitely going to go ahead and raise it up an inch in the back. It's definitely too low. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that up. But this thing just came out absolutely stellar. I'm stoked with it. I think everything's, you know, really lining up the way I want. The tire size I actually got right the second time. You can see it doesn't rub in the front. It's full lock. Clears perfectly. So that's awesome. Yeah, the whole stance all the way around I think is just exactly what I wanted. So I'm pretty happy with it. I can't say much more than that. I'm kind of speechless when I dropped on the ground. I was like, whoa. The first time I dropped on the ground, I dropped the whole car on the gas tank and I couldn't jack it up any higher because I was not expecting it to go down that low. But we need to definitely put some preload back in these springs, get it up a little bit higher, and then I think we'll be good to go. And then all we have to do is just bolt check the whole thing, throw some wiring in it, and we'll be good. So with that being said, thank you guys a ton for watching today's video. I'm super pumped. The Galaxie's on the ground and looking absolutely awesome. Hope you guys are enjoying this video series. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and please consider subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. I work really, really hard on these videos, getting them out for you guys, and a ton of work doing this all by myself. There's no excuses. With no garage either. Outside, I built that by myself. So yeah, thanks a ton, you guys. I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.